I often think to myself, I wish I had been more like you when I was your age.
Really?
Yes.
Welcome to the first ever episode of the BSN Pawcast, where we highlight the journey of how cubs become bears. I'm Gabriella.
And I'm Tristan. And today's guest is someone who's been supporting and inspiring students for years. First starting off as a student and progressing through the ranks as a teacher, vice principal, and principal.
Despite the fact that she is new to the latter, the love and passion she holds for students and staff alike is present in everything she does. Whether it's stopping to talk to students in hallways or simply just being at events, everything she does is riddled with love. She is perhaps one of the greatest testaments to the statement, bleeding green and gold. Please welcome our first ever guest, Mrs. Pride.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so flattered to be your first guest, and thank you for your kind words.
We're glad to have you here today.
Glad to have you. How would you describe yourself, Mrs. Pride?
Okay, so when I was preparing for this podcast, this was the first question, and I think this was the hardest question to answer because, I don't know, it's hard to describe yourself. So, like, how would you guys describe me? I'm interested in knowing how you would describe me, and then maybe I can comment on it.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I know some people might see you as this strict figure, but like when I see you, you're always smiling, you're always ready to talk to people. I'd say you're loyal, you're trustworthy, you're kind.
That's a really good way to get compliments, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say definitely you carry a very confident vibe too. When you're walking and stuff, when I talk to you in the hallway and everything, you seem very comfortable with yourself, confident, and yeah, generally secure and everything like that.
He's probably a better sweet talker than I am.
Well, I guess I've been at this for a while. Like, I've been here for over 20 years, and I've been spending a lot of time with young people, so I'm glad that, you know, I exude confidence. I think I'm confident in what I do, although this year as principal, the confidence is growing a little bit more because, you know, I didn't realize how different being the principal was going to be because I was a vice principal for 9 years. So I'm learning a lot of things, but I hope that I'm able to exude that confidence because I think people want to know that their principal is confident. So it's hard to describe yourself. I mean, I hope I'm a person who's approachable, but I also, you know, am in a position where sometimes I have to be a disciplinarian, but I'm glad that students find me approachable because I have all sorts of really wonderful conversations and make really good connections with kids. Especially at lunchtime. I know Chloe's sitting over here, I'm not going to look at her, but we have lots of conversations at lunchtime. And the time that I do spend upstairs at lunch, when you guys are there, when I'm making my way in the hallways, and the time I do spend with the students is really the time that I'm able to refocus and remember why I'm doing this job. Because sometimes things get stressful and it takes me away from being with the kids, but I have to remember that you guys are the reason why I started this journey and that I'm still on this journey. I don't know if I described myself, but...
You did. Now you said you've been at your job for 9 years. Wouldn't you describe yourself as patient?
I try and be as patient as I can. I think the older I get, the more patient I become. And the more experience I have in this job, the more patient. I know when I was a teacher, I would want to move, you know, get through a lot of content, and sometimes I wasn't always patient. But there is a benefit of getting older. So when you're a young person, you don't often imagine yourself as being an older person, or you think, what am I going to be like? But there really is a benefit to getting older because you do grow into, you know, you become more patient and you become more less judgmental and all these things. So yeah, I guess I hope I'm patient. I think I'm more patient than I have been. But these 9 years, or this is my 10th year in the office as an administrator, I think I continue to become more patient. So, yeah.
That's a really good answer.
Why, thank you.
But 10 years, what made you want to come back to SJSH?
What made me want to come and teach here?
Yeah.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
general, when did you just want to come back?
Okay, so when we were preparing for the podcast, I was able to share with you guys that when I started high school, I'm a graduate of SJSH, and I'm like from the first graduating class of St. Joseph's Scullard Hall. So when I started grade 9, it was the first year that the two schools had amalgamated. Okay, so when I graduated, my class was the first class that had only been to SJSH. And so I stayed in North Bay. I did my undergrad in North Bay. I went to Teachers College in North Bay. But I always knew that I wanted to work with young people. My dad was an educator, so I kind of grew into it, kind of always knowing that that's what I wanted to be. And I knew that I wanted to teach in a Catholic school. And this is the only Catholic school in North Bay, so that's how I came to be here. And I actually got my job as a teacher here when I was still in Teachers College.
Really?
Yeah, it was a time where I was on my very last placement. I was doing a placement at St. Joe's, grade 8 placement. And I interviewed and got the job here, and I was able to tell the kids who were in grade 8 that were moving into grade 9 that I was going to be teaching there next year. So it was really nice to have that experience with them because they had someone that they could come to. They knew I was going to be a teacher, and some of them were in my class. I taught drama, grade 9 drama, and I think grade 12 English my first year teaching. So yeah, it was a long time ago. I think I've been at this gig for, I don't know, maybe 25 years, or coming up to it anyway.
Oh, wow, that's 25 years is a long time. And
It's a long time. You weren't even born yet.
I know I wasn't. And during those years, like you said, 25 years, is there a favorite aspect you have throughout that you really like that has stuck with you, being here?
Being at the school, well, when you've been here this long and you're here for 10 months out of the year, a lot of what goes on in your life, like, happens here, right? So, like, Advent, for example, like coming up to Christmas. All the things we do as a school in Advent really kind of sets the tone for Christmas for me. Like, I don't know if it would still feel like Christmas after 20-some years if we didn't have the Mass at the cathedral together, or if we didn't have the Christmas assembly, or if we didn't have, those activities leading up to Christmas. So it really helps. It's really been a part of my preparing me for Christmas. So that's one of the things that I think is really fun. And I started teaching drama here, and I did summer challenge here for many, many years. So like last week we had that musical theater production. You were involved in that, and Chloe was involved in that. It was awesome. So those kinds of experiences, they're like, it just makes me feel like home. You know what I mean? So I've described a couple of things. You guys are both new to like the country, new to the school. So what are some of the things in your experiences? I know you're supposed to be asking me the questions, but I'm curious because you both have such interesting backgrounds. What are your favorite events so far at the school, or what makes it feel?
Well, I'm a bit biased since I'm in these events, but probably musical theater, obviously. Insights and songs, that's a big one. Really, just the art program in general. We have a lot of great teachers here who have a lot to offer to students.
That's awesome. And it's been, Insights and Sounds been going on for a long time. I actually designed one of the posters for it.
Really?
Like in the very first years, yeah, because it happened when I was, I think, in grade 9 or 10 they started it. Yeah. How about you, Tristan?
I would honestly have to say it's really between like football and basketball here. I love both of those seasons. Basketball is currently going on right now. We had a really close game yesterday. I don't know if you guys caught it. It was like, I think the part of the reason why basketball is so intense for me too, because all my friends are on that team.
Yeah,
so it's like I'm watching them, I'm like cheering them on too. And I film it for them too and everything.
Yeah,
So.
it's so exciting.
Oh yeah, and I really love them. I forget the name of it, but it's where we all wore our colors. Like for our
Color
grade.
cheer
Color
day?
cheer and
Yeah.
alumni day. It was super cool to see for the first time. I've never had that at my old school.
Oh, it's
Anything
fun,
like that.
eh?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
super fun. I loved it.
And you mentioned football. In the fall when school's starting and football starts, it was such a big part of when I was in high school. So to continue to have that experience here, and like alumni day, everyone goes on the field, it really, there's so much spirit,
Yes,
right?
there is.
Yeah. So those are some of some of the things. Another thing that we experienced for the first time last year that really had a tremendous impact on me, and I think it's something that Mr. Fisher's going to be working with his team on, is the powwow that we had on the field last year. And what a wonderful experience that was to bring in the community to celebrate on our field. So those are some of the things that I'm really happy to be involved in, and I'm so proud of our school for being able to put on these wonderful displays of who we are. Yeah.
So on the topic of events, right?
Mhm.
Is there anything today that you really appreciate besides the powwow that you didn't have when you were attending SJSH?
Oh wow, you threw this one at me, Gabby. This wasn't one I prepared for.
Unpredictability is a part of life.
Some things that we have now that we didn't have when I was in high school.
Yes.
Can I just say the cafeteria? Is that a good example?
I wonder what that would
Because
have been like.
Oh my god, yeah.
the cafeteria when I was here, we didn't have Lenny and Karen, okay? So I feel like we're very, very blessed to have these two people and their staff in the cafeteria taking such good care of us and really becoming members of our school community.
Yeah.
Whereas before, our cafeteria food wasn't what it is today. That's one of the examples. I don't know. That's a tough question. The powwow, it's really nice to be able to celebrate the culture here at our school, and that really wasn't anything when I was in high school that we were able to celebrate. And even musical theater
Really?
wasn't. There was drama, but I don't ever. Oh, maybe little musicals here and there, but nothing to the extent that we have today. So I feel that has really grown, and I hope that I've been able to contribute a little bit in the growth of that. I haven't been directly involved in the musical theater program the way it's been the past few years, but I'm a big supporter and a big advocate of it. A couple of. There's so many more things, but like this question I didn't know of ahead of time, so I wasn't able to stew about it for a week thinking about it. So.
And I mean, seeing as we're on the topic of change and what it was like before and now, I understand, I think I heard before that this used to not be here actually at the school, right? Like it used to be separated off?
Yeah.
Or it used to be the original part of the building? It was just
What?
that?
What was?
Like the main part of it, like the older looking one. It was just that.
Oh,
before,
yeah. Yeah, okay, so when I was in high school, oh gosh, 1986 maybe? A little long time ago.
1986.
So the main, like the old historic building, the Scholar building, which faces High Street, the big gray, beautiful building. There were classes, but that used to be the old residence, and there were no residents here when I was here, but we had classes on the top floors, but they were just open classes. So the one was the big drama room, one was the big art room, and then they had the old, I guess where the boarders used to stay a long time ago.
Yeah.
And we actually had, like a sick room actually had beds and stuff in it. And the office administration was in that building. So the principal's office was there and the staff room was there. And that's how that was the front door of the school when I was here. And then we had what was called the Carter building. So where the staff parking is right now and where our main entrance now, it was called the Scholar building. And it was kind of an old building it was really old when I got here. And that's where the gym was. But the St. Lawrence building was there. So, and that was classrooms. So those classes in 400 and 500, I had classes in there.
Okay.
And they actually began construction on this part. They started digging when I was still in high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I think they opened it the first year I left high school or something, so I just missed it.
Understandable. It's a great place to be.
It's great, yeah. Beautiful facility. Everyone comments about how beautiful and how clean our facility is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey SJSH, guess what's flippin' awesome? It's Shrove Tuesday on February 13th, and we're serving up free pancakes in the cafeteria during both A and B lunches. So, mark your calendars and bring your appetites, because it's going to be a pancake party you won't want to miss. You there, Bears.
In a world like, in your role, in a leadership role like yourself, I'm sure there's a lot of stress with that. And I know students themselves in a school setting will also feel burdened by that stress, in exams and tests. In your spot, How would you say you deal with stress, and is there any advice for the students on how they could deal with that themselves too when they're going through something like that?
That's a really good question. Like, stress is a normal part of life, and I think we all have to deal with a certain amount of stress, and I think we all have to develop our own strategies. Like when I was doing my undergrad, for example, I was always a stressed kid. Like I had a lot of anxiety as a child. And then I was married, I had my son, and then I started my undergrad. So that's kind of when the real stress started, trying to balance a part-time job, trying to balance, my school, trying to be a good mom. So I had to develop strategies that would work. But some of the things, like today, in my job can be stressful, as like your lives are being a student is stressful. I've developed some strategies that are that help me deal with stress. But I have to do them every day. It's not that I feel stressed, so I'm doing them. So and this is going to be pretty boring to young people to listen to, I'm sure, but I go to bed early. I try and get 8 hours, of rest a night. I get up at 5 o'clock every morning. I go to the gym every morning. I try and set my day up for success, because a lot of what happens in my day-to-day life at work is very unpredictable, right? You never know when that fire alarm's going to go off after O Canada or whatever the case may be. So I can't really, I know that I can't necessarily have a perfect plan for every day. So I try and organize the rest of my day to be planned as best I can. So my routines are very important to me. So making sure I get enough sleep, making sure I'm eating well. Young people don't realize how important sleep hygiene is. So getting rid of, doing things before I go to bed that really help me wind down. Putting the phone away, not answering emails after a certain time at night. Trying to find the time to kind of reset myself. Okay, because when you reach a certain age, sleep isn't always easy. So, I have to do things that I know are going to help me be the best I can be to show up here and to support not just the students, but the staff and, the parents and the school community. So I have to take good care of myself so I can show up for everybody else. And, I exercise a lot. I try and do that before school. Sometimes I go after school. I actually started taking kickboxing classes with my best friend a few years ago, so we do that all the time.
That's great.
We spend more time laughing at each other than we do actually doing things, but being with people that you care about is really important too. So, putting those distractions aside to start or to spend more quality time with people. And I think when you reach a certain age too, you realize, I'm just coming to realize that I think I have more time behind me than I do ahead of me. So that has also helped with patience and with, setting priorities and, spending time with people, because time is limited and young people don't always, that wasn't something I thought of when I was your age, right? It's like, we have so much time, I've got a lot of time to do the things I want to do, but those people who are in grade 12 this year, you're starting to realize that time does go by pretty quickly.
It really does.
Mm-hmm. And the advice I give to those in grade 12 is, especially when the second semester is starting, have lunch with your friends, sit down, enjoy the time. Because next year when you're off doing different things, those everyday lunch dates that you have, and I see you guys having them and it's so much fun to watch you, those lunch dates get harder and harder. So you may not, you may take them for granted while you're having them. You get to see the same people every day and they're people you love. But depending on what you do next year, you might not be seeing those same people and you might not have the opportunity to sit down with them as often. So, I do a lot of things to take stress off, try to take care of myself, and try and take care of the people I love, and try to support all you guys.
Now, away from the topic of trying to make us sad,
Oh, sorry.
discipline is clearly a big part of your day-to-day life, right?
Mhm.
So what are some qualities that you think are important for leaders to have? Not just like adult leaders, but also student leaders.
Yeah, that's also a very, very good question. Okay, Chloe, I'm going to turn the page and it's going to make noise, so please forgive me. I wrote down some things. But I am curious to know, what you guys feel is important in a leader, like leaders of the school, and what you feel is important for leaders, student leaders.
For leaders of your school, I think it's important for them to have passion, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can do a job, you can get a certain amount of money, but if you don't care, it's not really worth it, is it?
Mm-hmm.
And for student leaders, loyalty, passion, drive. You have to be dedicated. You have to always show up, even when it gets hard.
Very true, yeah. To kind of tiptoe what you were saying. If you want to be a leader, I feel like you have to be really true, I guess, to say to yourself, to people. Like, if you're saying something out to the whole school, or if you're a student saying something to other students of what you're going to do, you really need to do that, I feel, and stick to your word and do your best to make that happen. And not, like I say, like lie or like manipulate other words and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Watching student leaders like yourselves, I often think to myself, I wish I had been more like you when I was your age.
Really?
Yes, because it takes such strength and it's so brave. Because as a student leader, you can't always please everybody, right? And as a leader, like a principal in a school, having done this for a while, you get more used to it and you understand that not everyone is necessarily going to understand, or people see things in a different way and they can get upset with you. Like, I think those are things that they're not always pleasant, but I can handle it. I really admire young people that are able to have the confidence to be able to do that. I think if you want to be a leader, you have to have confidence. You have to.
Absolutely.
You have to believe in what you're doing. And so I find it so admirable when I see a student who is able to lead successfully. And I'm overwhelmed, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on your podcast. Like, I'm so impressed and so like at awe of student leaders. Like, it's amazing what you guys do. And I'm not just saying that to, blow sunshine your way. I really mean it. You guys are so brave to do what you're doing, and you have such respect from the student body. And I hope you feel that.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, good. I don't know what else I can say about myself being a leader. I don't know that I always pictured myself as a leader. But one thing that I've learned more in the past little while, I guess since my time in the office, but I'm really trying to be more cognizant of it as principal, is it's really more important to listen.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Listen to people. You don't learn anything by listening to yourself talk, right? So I'm really trying to listen more. I'm listening more to kids. I'm listening more to staff members. I'm listening more to parents. And I think as a leader, if there was anything I hope that I'm able to do well, it's to listen. Yeah.
And that could be the answer to the question I'm going to ask, but is there anything that surprised you going along this way, being in that role
Yeah.
as leader, going through all that?
Has anything surprised me, like the change?
Like
or?
the change, like throughout the time as a teacher, vice principal, is there anything that made you go, wow, I wasn't expecting that?
Well, it's funny, like you learn as you go, and I feel like I can understand teachers because I was a teacher for a long time. So I hope I can understand what they're going through and the frustrations they go to, even though I haven't been in the classroom. But I was really I guess surprised, or just how different being an administrator was. As a teacher, like, you really make connections, or hopefully you're making connections with your kids, and you're supporting the kids in your class, and you're supporting each other. But as a leader, it's not, maybe not as easy, like I found as a vice principal, maybe it wasn't as easy to make connections like I did in the class. Or maybe at first it wasn't as easy, but then it became easy, and you know, I spoke to more parents and I was able to connect more with families. Yeah, and as principal, I feel I'm able to connect better with kids because I can get out a little bit more than when I was a vice principal. You know what I mean? Like I'm able to free myself of some of the things that kept me busy as a vice principal. I think I have a lot of other things as a principal, but luckily I have really great support in the office, and it allows me to get out and be with the staff and the students a little bit more.
We are going through as like a student, teacher, and vice principal, now principal. You can see, like, through all those roles that they're right now, like you can kind of relate, I guess, to each piece of what you're doing.
Yeah, how lucky am I that I can experience all those things? I was a teacher, I was a vice principal, now I'm a principal, like, and how different they all are, right? But I don't know that I would, I don't know if I would be as effective as a leader if I didn't have that time in the classroom, and as a vice principal too. I think that it was able to offer me some interesting perspectives, and I think I can better support teachers, and I can better support the vice principals in the office because I've done it. And as I'm sure you're all aware, Mr. Marriott is retiring, so we're going to have Mr. Ricciuti in the office. Just a little tidbit here. When Miss Walsh was in grade 13, no, it was OAC then,
Yeah.
I taught her.
Really?
Yeah, because I was a student teacher. And then when Mr. Ricciuti was here as a student, he did summer challenge, and that was the first year I did. So I actually kind of taught both of them. Isn't that funny?
It
And now they're
is.
both the vice principal, I'm the principal. It'll be fun.
Well, on that note, is there any part of you that misses the classroom? You would have taught both of our vice principals, right? So
I can honestly say I'm very thankful to have had these experiences out of the classroom, like the vice principal and principal, but and I've made this known to everybody. I really miss being in the classroom.
Really?
I do. I loved being in the classroom. And Chloe, you can probably, I know I'm probably not supposed to be saying you're right here, but you are right here, you're right beside me. She can attest to this, and Gabby, you probably can too, because when we're upstairs at lunchtime, we're often talking about, oh, well, what should I be doing for my independent study book? Oh, well, and then I'll start talking to you about these independent study books or whatever, right? And I think I still get very passionate about, I was an English teacher for a long time.
you can definitely tell.
Yeah, so I'm very passionate about it. So I do miss talking about those kinds of things with students. That's great, great discussion. But Mr. Pride and I talk about a lot of school stuff too, about books, because he's now teaching English and teaching history, so we're able to talk about a lot of those things too. So that kind of keeps me in the game a little bit, but I do miss being in the classroom with you guys, because that's like, imagine spending 75 minutes talking about books, Chloe, and not just, 30 minutes at lunchtime.
And was it a tougher time being a teacher than it is being a principal? That could be a silly question, because I know the principal often say they deal with a lot, and I'm sure they do, but which was tougher for you?
They're very different things. Yeah. Being a teacher is a difficult job because it's it's a lot of work. Whether you're a teacher, whether you're a principal, it's a lot of work. As a teacher, you brought a lot of your work home, and because you make those connections with kids, like you lose a lot of sleep over your kids because you're worried about them. You know what's going on in their lives. You want to be able to support them. There are a lot of challenges too, because students, you want to make sure all students are successful, and you're communicating with the students, you're communicating with the parents. So there were challenges to being a teacher for sure, and we're very blessed at this school because we've got such a committed group of teachers. And being a principal, was the question what was more challenging, or?
Yeah, like you said, they're both different positions, right? very different, but which did you just find was more of a challenge?
Well, right now, being principal for, I guess this is my, September, October, November, December, my 5th month as principal. And it's a lot different than being vice principal. I didn't realize how different it was going to be. It's great, but it's different. This is probably the most challenging time I've had as anything in a school. Just because it's a real learning curve, right? And there's a lot that poor Mr. Belanger, I'm calling him all the time, asking him questions. He's been such a wonderful support. And losing Mr. Marietti soon, he's very knowledgeable. He's actually been in the vice principal. We started as vice principal the same year, but he was acting admin for a couple of years before I went in. So I'm going to be losing his experience and his knowledge. But after 5 months of doing the job, and it's been like a really big learning curve, I'm finally starting to feel like, things are moving along, and I don't have to be here till 6 o'clock at night every night or whatever. So I don't know that I can fully answer the question in terms of what's harder. There were different challenges for sure, but they're both wonderful challenges. I guess.
So if you missed the classroom so much, what made you want to take up a role as an admin?
Well, it kind of was a natural progression because I started in the classroom, and then I started working in literacy, and then I had to kind of give up some of the teaching to be able to support the literacy program at the school, and then I moved into student success, and I was released from all my classes to work in student success like what Mr. Newman does right now. So I did that for many years before I became an administrator. So, and then I started doing a lot of stuff on committees with the school board. And I had, I guess I had a vision, and I didn't want to be someone that just talked about the way things should be. Like I wanted to, if I wanted to implement, if I wanted change to happen, I needed to be a part of that implementation, I guess. So I thought I could make some contributions as an administrator. So it kind of just, from student success, I became vice principal, and then, this opportunity presented itself. So it was a natural progression.
Yeah.
I don't know that principal was ever like, my job just kind of, or the jobs I've done in the school have just led me there, and I'm really fortunate that I've been able to take those steps.
And a bit of a fun question, I guess. But when you were a teacher, I know you taught drama and English, right? Is that what you taught?
Yeah.
If you could go back to that point and you could teach any subject other than those two, would there have been one that you'd have been curious to do?
Well, I'm a history teacher too, but I never taught it here.
Oh.
So I think I would love to teach history. I do a lot of traveling, and I drag my poor husband along to all the historic sites, all the religious sites. I like to see where things happened, and I'm very fortunate that I'm able to go on trips to see, a lot. I've done all the World War I sites, World War II sites, and I want to see where things happen. So I think I've always been very passionate about the study of history. So I think that would be something that I missed the boat teaching history, but that's something I probably would have liked to have done.
So I know you said that you and your son talk about school, right? Did you perhaps influence his passion for history and English?
Well, I guess that's a question you'd have to ask him.
I guess.
But like I mentioned before, when I was doing my undergrad, he was just a little guy, right? So sometimes his bedtime stories were Macbeth or what was Beowulf. Those were his bedtime stories because I had to kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
So maybe that influenced his decision. I don't know.
Want to win some sweet treats and candy? Well, get ready because you have until Wednesday, February 14th to play everyone's favorite game, Guess the Candy. Here's how it works. Swing by the cafeteria to take a look at the jar filled with delicious goodies and take your best guess at how many candies are inside. The lucky student who comes closest to the actual number wins a $50 gift card from the caf. So, sharpen those guessing skills and head to the cafeteria before February 14th for your chance to win big. Don't miss out on the sweetest game in town. See you there, Bears.
In a world filled with distractions, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that come to you, like people stopping in the hallways, always, asking you certain questions, what's happening with you and there. How do you deal with all of that? Like with so many stuff coming your way, how do you deal with one thing at a time like that and manage it?
Yeah, it's hard. I make a lot of lists, I have to say. Lists are my thing. I feel like everything is more manageable if I have a list. I actually had a student come to me this morning who's very overwhelmed with a lot of things that have happened, and I'm like, we just gotta make a list. You gotta make a list of things you have to do, and once you start crossing those things off your list, you're gonna feel better. I had a conversation with someone up in the second floor lounge the other day saying, I've fallen behind in all my schoolwork. One thing at a time, let's make a list. What do you have to do? So I can be easily distracted because there's never a day that I know what's coming at me. So I feel I have to write things down. It might sound ridiculous, but and once you're able to start crossing those things off your list, you can breathe a lot more easily. I find anyway, so I would strongly suggest when things start to feel overwhelming that you make a list of things you have to do, and then you start to feel better once that list gets smaller and smaller. But there's always a list. And life is full of distractions. I'm easily distracted by my phone. I have to say, I have to put it away. I often have to put it away. I can get really and I think it's almost like it's become like a nervous twitch with me. I don't know if you guys feel that with your phone. It's almost like a fidget toy for me. But the distraction isn't always positive or a good one, right? So I feel like I have to put it away and kind of find other things to take my mind off things.
Yeah, with all the social media apps on the phone, you can really get lost in it. Get lost in it.
Yeah, you can. It's like a wormhole.
It is, really.
I feel like this ties back into discipline as one of your characteristics, right? Because me personally, I cannot make lists. I would never follow them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it doesn't work.
A list doesn't work. Wow. So what do you do?
Go with the flow.
Go with the flow. Well, that's important too. You have to be able to go with the flow. And you asked me about going back to that leadership question you asked me. I didn't mention flexibility and being able to go with the flow. That's survival.
Yeah.
So good for you for having that quality. That's really important because nothing's going to go as planned. So yeah, being able to pivot is very important. Good for you.
But on a lighter note, what student trends baffle or intrigue you?
All
That's a good
right.
one.
I don't understand the whole bathroom thing, guys.
Neither do
I don't understand why students are gathering in bathrooms.
Have you ever heard of the Bible studies in the bathroom?
I haven't heard of Bible studies in the bathroom. We have a beautiful chapel. Go to the chapel. Have your
Yeah.
Bible study in there. The biggest one is eating lunch in the bathroom.
I don't get that.
I personally, I don't get it either. I haven't seen it firsthand, but I have heard stories.
It might happen in the girls' bathroom more because I'm in the
Definitely
girls'
does.
bathrooms quite a bit. And it might be a privacy thing. People feel like maybe they have more privacy, which kind of is what the bathroom's about, but it's privacy to go to the bathroom. It's not privacy to eat lunch in the bathroom. I hope we have spaces that students feel safe and comfortable in, like the second floor lounge or the cafeteria or wherever, that they can sit down. And I'm often trying to redirect kids, just go and sit down and be comfortable and be where there's maybe not as much bacteria or whatever floating around. But I don't understand that.
On the topic of the germs, I don't understand how they consciously sit there, knowing all the bacteria that float through there, the stuff people do in there, and just be like, yeah, I think this is a good place to eat.
But they're eating in the stalls. It's not just outside. They're eating in the bathroom stalls. Yeah. I'm so happy that you guys seem surprised by this so I don't understand that trend. There are other, TikTok trends that I don't understand, but I'm an old person, so I don't necessarily think I'm supposed to understand them. But yeah, the bathroom thing kind of baffles me a bit. Yeah.
What about something that intrigues you in a good way?
Something that intrigues me about
Student trends.
student trends. There's another one that she's thrown at me here. Gabby's thrown this one at me. Student trends. That intrigue me? I don't know.
What things about students in general?
That intrigue me?
Yeah.
I don't know. What intrigue? You start. You're going to ask me the hard question. You need to be able to answer it.
I would say procrastination, but I'm a big procrastinator, so I can't.
Are
really
you?
Yeah.
Oh, I never
Yeah.
would have thought that. I understand procrastination because I think I was a big procrastinator. But I wouldn't say that necessarily intrigues me. Yeah, I don't know. That's a very interesting question. I can't answer it. I don't know. What about you, Tristan?
I'd say, feel like if you talk to a wide variety of people
Mm-hmm.
and you get to know each of them in their own way, you get to see how each student thinks differently about an assignment. So
Oh, yeah.
one could say, I'll leave it to the weekend. One will say,
Yeah.
no, I'll do it right now and get
Yeah.
it done with. So each mind thinks a lot way different, and I
Mhm.
think that's kind of interesting.
You know what I find intriguing is that the students that I've spoken to, oftentimes they don't understand that it's hard to think. Like, thinking is hard. Like when I was preparing for this podcast, for example, I'm not a fast thinker. I think I'm a deep thinker, but I can't think quickly. So when people are saying, I'm just going to write my independent study on the weekend, well, don't you have to think about that book? Don't you have to think about the characters? Don't you have to think about things? So I find that intriguing that they wait till the last minute. I don't know if intriguing is the right word.
It's the pressure.
The
It
pressure.
gets you
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah. I don't know. That wasn't a very good answer.
There's no such thing as good or bad answer.
Okay. Thanks, Gabby.
This February 23rd, join us for a powerful Black Lives Matter presentation that you won't want to miss. Featuring the incredible Shem Parkinson from the Rods and Mocha Show as our guest speaker. It's time to amplify voices, foster understanding, and drive change together. Save the date, February 23rd. Let's unite for a crucial conversation. That's it for the ads today, Bears. Stay awesome.
So I have some rapid fire questions for you. They're just quick blitz like that. Just an answer and go in. The first one from me would be, if you could be a flavor of ice cream, what flavor would it be and why?
Okay, that's a hard answer because I love ice cream. But I think it would be pistachio because it's sweet, it's refined, and it's a little bit nutty.
Okay. Personally, I'm a chocolate girl, but if you could instantly become an expert in one thing and be good at it, what would it be?
Pastry chef.
Pastry chef?
Yes,
Why?
because I love to bake.
Fair point.
And I would like to be an expert in it. Maybe someday.
And what's the most challenging thing you've ever done?
Well, probably when I talked about doing my undergrad, being a parent, that was hard. But this past summer, my husband took me on a trail run in France, saying it was like for intermediate people, and we were like climbing ropes and all sorts of crazy things. And I should have had a helmet on, and I didn't know that I was going to make it out alive. So that's the one thing I can think about.
Oh my goodness.
It was a tough one.
If you were a superhero, what would your superpower be, and what would your hero name be?
Yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth on this one. I think I would like to be like Superman has a couple of different ones, right? Strong and can fly, so that would probably be it. But when I'm at school, I wish that I could be invisible. Sometimes. Yeah. And my name, I don't know, like Mighty Mish, I don't know.
Mighty Mish.
Yeah.
What's the weirdest food you've ever eaten, and did you enjoy it?
The weirdest food. When I was in Portugal once, I had barnacles, like goose barnacles.
Wow.
And they look like devil's claws, like that's the nickname for them. They look really gross, but they're very good.
What made you want to try it?
It was just it was something on the menu, and it was unique to that area, that region. It was like, a delicacy, so I tried it. I'm very adventurous with my palate.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
one last question. What sage advice would you like to give to our audience? You've been here a long time, you've been alive for a long time, and with that you said patience comes with that.
I've been alive for a long time. Thank you for the reminder, Gabby. I've been alive for a
If you
long
have to
time.
sadden me with grade 12, I'm just gonna sadden you with this.
Okay. Okay. Sage advice.
Yeah.
Golden rule here, right? Treat other people the way you want to be treated. I think if you go through life following that rule, then you're treating people well, and hopefully that is being reciprocated. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Thank you to our viewers.
Thank you.
And roll bears.
Roll Bears.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm very flattered to be your first guest, and it was a very easy conversation to have.
Yeah, it was
So
great
thank
having
you.
Thank you for coming on.
Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at SJSH Bearsden Pawcast.